Amira Ali is hoping her nerves don't get the best of her.
The dream is coming true.
A dream Amira didn't think was possible 24 years ago, an ocean away. It was the height of the Second Civil War in Sudan, a war that killed 2 million people. Amira lived in a village then with her family, including a daughter named Tina. One night their village was raided. In the chaos, Amira lost sight of Tina. She says she walked through the desert for 4 days with her other children, finally reaching a refugee camp. After more moving and months in 2 other countries, the United Nations helped Amira seek asylum in the U.S.
The America saved my life.
Last year, a friend encouraged her to sign up for a Facebook account in hopes of finding lost relatives. Sure enough, Amira's sister, who Amira thought had also died in the conflict, saw her profile. She told Amira Tina was alive and she had raised her as her own daughter after the village was raided. Amira says she promptly fainted.
I fell down how many times? I go to the hospital.
She kept the news to herself for a few days and then confided in her English teacher, George Brown, who runs the Colorado African Organization, one of the groups that helped make Amira's reunion possible.
She came to me one day last fall and said, my daughter is alive. I found her through Facebook. And I remember I was in the middle of doing something else and I just stopped and I said, wait a minute, let's back up.
Tina had become a nurse, was 30 years old now, and had 3 children of her own, grandchildren that Amira didn't even know she had. But violence in South Sudan had also forced Tina's family to flee to Libya and eventually to Egypt. Coincidentally, their application for asylum in America had just been approved. They were able to get special permission to move to Denver to be closer to Tina's mother. Now, after so many years, Amira's heartbreak over her daughter is about to end.
She's dead. Where is she?
What do you say to a child who you thought had died? To grandchildren you never knew existed? Sometimes it's best to just show them.
I'm so very, very happy. It's a long time to meet my mom. Like a dream now when I see her, I cannot believe, but I'm happy.
I'm very happy. It's a good day for me. God bless America, or God bless my kids.
Maya Rodriguez, 9 News.
You kind of hear about it a lot, unfortunately, more than we want to.
The unfortunate twist in this story came late Friday night when Rayshawn Abram was found covered in blood in this Montbello neighborhood. Rayshawn was 13 years old. He was only 13 years old.
Always.
That number sticks in Pastor Louis Ray's mind. It's the same age as most of the kids he helps in Denver.
And it just breaks your heart, you know, it's just a heartbreaker.
Denver police tell us there was a party nearby at the time of the shooting. They're looking into whether Rayshawn was there.
It makes me wish, was the kid listening and was anybody talking to him? Was anybody teaching him so he wouldn't be in that situation?
So many questions, so few answers. It's tough to make sense of it.
You can't, especially while your heart's still broken. You can't do it.
This should serve as a lesson, Pastor Louis Ray explained. Talk to your kids. Tell them this story so they don't become one.
So that these stories are less and less and less and less and less.
Who knows what sort of future Rayshawn Abram may have had? We'll never know now. At the time of his death, he was 13 years old. Just 13 years old.
And it doesn't matter where the kid is, great kid, horrible kid, he still deserves our love.
This story is far from over. Denver police say they will continue to aggressively investigate the shooting death, and at the same time, a vigil is planned for Rayshawn for this Tuesday. In Denver, I'm Kevin Torres, 9 News.
One.
It's perhaps fitting that in a former church,
we feel that spirit.
The spirit still moves.
It's a hallelujah moment. Aha.
And she moves too. A lot.
Sometimes my husband would say, why did you kick your leg up like that? And I was like, honey, it's because I just feel like it, and I'm glad I can. And he'd say, that's really not necessary.
Dance is Cleo Parker Robinson's life.
And I loved theater.
And parts of her 65 years of life have come together on stage.
Every part of the works that I've done, I can identify a time in my life.
Even the most painful times.
My brother died in his sleep of a heart attack. at 19.
Sorrow that inspired.
I was only 21 and I had to create, and the pain was so great. Mary, don't you weep. So there are 3 Marys, and they all try to hold each other together. You know, that's what women do.
A personal piece,
This is an excerpt from To My Father's House.
one of many in the upcoming show simply called Cleo on Cleo.
So we brought back some of my older works and new works.
Works that have taken Cleo Parker Robinson
Can do beautifully, darling.
and her dance ensemble
It's one of the first pieces I ever created.
around the world.
From Kenya to Nigeria to Germany, all over Italy, Bulgaria, Istanbul, everywhere.
Quite the journey for the girl who was told she'd never dance.
I had a heart attack at the age of around 10 or 11, and then I was hospitalized, and they said I would never move.
But in fact, she's always moving and sharing her life's journey filled with dreams
That was my greatest joy.
and dance. With photojournalist Byron Reed, Toronto Thomas, 9 News.
When day begins to turn to night at one of the Tennyson Center cottages, that's when it gets tough for some of the kids.
They're physically, just kicking, hitting, doing those things. I go back to, I have to think, okay, Denise, you know how this is to feel scared.
When the darkness sets in, it can consume these troubled kids. It can bring back the memories.
That's when someone's coming in the room and abusing them. That's when someone's coming in there and hurting them. So what happens is then that darkness symbolizes evil.
And that's why it's so important to provide light during the dark times.
Time for dinner.
It's what they do at the Tennyson Center for Children.
Do you normally do that?
Staff member Denise Robinson knows what the kids are going through.
Here.
She thinks back to when she was a child, when she was abused by her father, when she watched him abuse her mother.
He would, and I'm trying not to get emotional, but he would tie my mom to the bed, tell us if we went in there, untied her, did anything that more or less from beating us to verbally telling us he would kill us. Do you normally take your MP player at dinner?
It's why she does what she does.
So I'm gonna come and sit down since you're not answering my question.
It's why she decided as an adult to get her college degree and her master's in social work.
I'm not abusing it.
It's why she can relate when a kid acts out.
I want my iPod.
You'll get your iPod.
No.
You won't get it now. You will get it after dinner.
When one boy gets in trouble for bringing his iPod to the dinner table.
So I'm trying to help you resolve what needs to happen.
Denise remembers. She knows why they throw tantrums.
My mission is definitely to spread that hope, that light, let them know, even though it was dark, and even though they've went through some dark times, there is a light at the end of that tunnel. 1, 2, 3, 4.
When the kids are sorry for their outbursts,
sorry,
it means they're getting closer to the end of the tunnel.
Sorry!
And this night it means the staff will let them play board games.
Wham!
Take their mind off their troubles, if only for a little while.
Oh my gosh, you do have to be a gamer. Because if not, you get beat, you know? You get beat. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Outside, the darkness has set in. Inside, Denise always makes sure the lights are on so the kids won't get scared when they go to bed. Because the kids are the light at the end of her tunnel.
I can't even tell you how big of a light they are. They're big as the moon and the sun for me. Those are my lights for me. When I see the kids that we've made a difference in and we've changed their life, we've made them a better person, we've helped them break that cycle. Those are my lights. Those are my lights. Those are what keep me coming here and keep me connected to Tennyson Center.
At the Tennyson Center, there is always light to help bring the kids out of darkness.
Just so many people came in here.
And so many memories were formed right inside of Pierre's Supper Club.
You talk to people that have been coming in here for 40, 50 years and how they enjoyed it.
The restaurant has changed hands over the years. Randall Bourne currently owns the business, but it was his cousin, Lawrence Pierre, who started it all.
We started here and then we got famous all over the country.
Johnny Cochran, Bill Clinton, Scottie Pippen. You got Bronco players that always came down.
When in Denver, they all came to Pierre's for the fellowship and for the catfish.
Down in Louisiana, there's one thing about the people down where we're from. We know how to season food real good.
Talk business, politician, everybody come here.
One of those politicians,
I even held a cabinet meeting in there one day.
is former Denver Mayor Wellington Webb.
A lot of the political agreements were hashed out in Pierre's over cocktails and then out into the neighborhood.
A neighborhood that's quickly changing with new construction popping up.
In about 90 days, this building will not be around anymore.
Construction that will turn this property into townhomes.
Yeah, we're not in the business of putting people out of business.
The building is co-owned by David Bergner. He bought it in December from the bank, never knowing exactly what he was buying.
All we knew it was not a historical building and could be demolished. So that's why we proceeded with our plans.
It's true that Pierre's is rich in history, but because paperwork was never filed to make it a historical landmark, it will soon close.
Getting it ready to fry.
So for the last time, Mr. Pierre and Randall cook up some catfish for old time's sake.
It'll float. It'll come and talk to you.
Pierre's may be closing, but for the many people who have enjoyed a meal and made a memory, there's no forgetting what this place means to Denver.
Remember, it's a good place to come and eat. They'll be talking about Pierre from now on, you know.
Reporting in Denver, Megan Fitzgerald.
All right, see y'all.
9 News.
The cover of the first book that featured an African American clearly shown.
He may not look like a comic book hero.
And I love superheroes and the battle for truth and justice and equality and fairness. And I think that's what drew me.
But Professor William Foster is a hero for comic books.
All comic characters are stereotypes. It's where we start.
He's a nationally known comic book historian from Connecticut.
Welcome this morning.
Here to talk to people in Denver.
Stop reading them funny books is what they said.
About the changing image of African Americans in comics.
You can trace almost by decade how our progress in this country and how treatment in this country had changed over time.
Foster believes these are not just funny books. Comics, he believes,
no one knows,
are insights into the psychology of the times.
Where black people were being portrayed as, superstitious people with real big lips and fright wig hair and holding the shield and the spear. And
from the caricatures of the 30s and 40s.
I never get mad at history. It was what it was.
To the empowerment of the 60s and 70s.
This is John Stewart, the Black Green Lantern.
Foster says comic books play a big part in history because of their role in shaping the minds of young readers over time.
Because that's what we are. That's how we learn. We learn by stories.
What makes him a comic book hero?
Black Lightning is 1977.
Are his efforts to preserve history. He's contributing to an exhibit at the Blair Caldwell Library in Denver and towards efforts around the country.
This is Willie Mays.
Trying to help the next generation remember how things used to be.
If they found you reading, they would kill you.
What?
Oh, yeah.
Much of the pioneering comic books portraying black characters are disappearing. Many of them destroyed or never distributed.
Stacks of those books came back to the publisher. No one would put them on the shelves.
Now Foster has launched a movement to save these underground comics from extinction.
But the V of people behind me has gotten much larger. So I'm not the only one anymore.
Not the only one trying to be a hero.
Nah, not just funny books, although you still can find some funny books.
A hero for the truth.
Whatever story someone tells becomes the truth. Or there were no black comics. That becomes the truth. Okay? Nobody in the black community was doing it. Why should we do it? That's not the truth.
With photojournalist Byron Reed. Nelson Garcia, 9 News.